Drug deaths in the United States now outnumber traffic-related accidents and deaths. It turns out that the drug war is working. Now, here's the fascinating aspect of this story. You would think, oh, drug overdose must be heroin or it must be cocaine, must be something serious. But it turns out that what is fueling this is actually prescription drug abuse, something that is rarely talked about in the United States, something that I think is really brushed under the rug. You have pharmaceutical companies basically selling these drugs to doctors. Doctors are encouraged to keep prescribing these drugs, which are lethal in so many cases. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention wanted to compare statistics from 2009, and they looked at traffic-related deaths in the United States and they looked at drug-related deaths in the United States. Turns out that traffic-related deaths in the U.S. in 2009 were about 36,284. However, drug-related deaths in 2009 were 37,487. This is the first year that it has exceeded traffic-related deaths.
So my first thought when I heard this, when I hear drug in the story, it's, okay, how's that war on drugs treating you? And it's time to legalize it, which I agree with. But so my first thought was, okay, there's now, there's seatbelt laws that they enforce heavily.
Yes.
There's child safety seat laws. There's all these different things you have to do to ensure things. And cars are just made with safety requirements to make sure people don't die in car accidents as much as they did anymore. But so that's the excuse that you're going to get from people, because like I said, I don't think there's no time soon where this whole drug war is going to end. We're gonna just have another way of destroying ourselves through that avenue. So that's the argument that's going to be given is, oh well, there's all these safety things with cars. That's why those numbers are lower than this now. But in reality, the street drug game is what's going to continue to be pushed.
Right.
So when you speak some kind of facts, you're going to say, yeah, accidents are down because of these factors. When it comes to things like drugs, they're not going to say, so pills are killing all these people, because those aren't the scary people. Scary people aren't dying from popping pills and then going to a high school party, as was said in one of these other situations where someone's kid goes to a party and then he ends up missing and dead on someone's porch. Those aren't the scenes that we see in movies. We don't see someone there's no tying your arm up and shooting yourself up with a needle. That's the scary stuff. Those are the scary people who sell and do those drugs we need to put away as soon as possible, and which we identify as the war on drugs. This doesn't count as a war on drugs. I'm giving you the stupid point that's going to continue to let this keep happening.
No, you're absolutely right about that. And the problem with the war on drugs is not just the fact that it doesn't work, it's the fact that it's so unbalanced, okay? The people who are really fighting for the war on drugs, those are the people who are so disingenuous, okay? Because they don't believe in saving lives. If you believed in saving lives, then you would look at the statistics and you would realize that prescription drugs are killing so many people in the United States. People are getting overprescribed, and there's this whole mentality toward prescription drugs, whether it's painkillers, whether it's anti-anxiety pills. There's this whole mentality that these pills are completely fine because they're legal. The government has approved them. The FDA has approved them. It's completely fine, right? So you have this unbalanced war because you have pharmaceutical companies pushing these prescription drugs and saying, basically buying politicians, buying doctors, something that we've talked about time and time again on the show. And then at the same time, you have drugs like marijuana that are illegal in the United States. Doesn't make any sense. Just to give you another statistic that will blow your mind, it turns out that prescription drug overdoses now cause more deaths than heroin and cocaine combined.
Yeah.
Heroin and cocaine combined, okay? Prescription drugs cause more deaths than those two drugs that you hear about all the time when it comes to the drug war. So look, one of these painkillers, the one that you mentioned, comes in the form of a patch, but there's another painkiller medication that comes in the form of a lollipop. I mean, what kind of message does that send out? Like, if it's as powerful or more powerful than morphine, I don't know. I don't want it put in the shape of a lollipop, and I don't want this nonchalant attitude toward drugs like this. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be an advocate for the war on drugs, and I'm not saying that we should put these prescription drugs in the same category. I'm just saying that there needs to be at least a little more regulation when it comes to these pharmaceutical companies convincing doctors, or in a lot of cases, giving doctors gifts to prescribe these drugs, to overprescribe these drugs. And I'm not trying to get on the doctors. The real evil here are the pharmaceutical companies.